I'm Christy Leigh. My story is about how I was trafficked, how I got into the adult industry. It ended up being domestic violence. I was between the age of 8 and 10. My mom, she was a single parent. My mom's side was very dysfunctional. We were practically raised by my own grandma. My grandma had 3 children. My mom was her middle child, and my uncle, who was her oldest. I remember one time I was left alone in my trailer. I was taking a shower and my uncle came in there and took me out of my shower. I was completely naked, no towel, no nothing. He picked me up, brought me into the living room, and he had me bottom up, and he started putting baby powder on me. And he just told me shh, and he said don't tell anybody. It just made me feel like ick or weird. We were all heading to church. I was in my uncle's car. My grandma was in front of us. We were at a red light. He started unzipping his pants. I opened the car door and I ran into my grandma's car, and I told my grandma what happened. We pulled up to the church where it was already like happening, and I watched from the window. My grandma pulled her son out of that church and just started beating on him. When I moved to the southern states, I took my mom's box by accident. Inside that box was my uncle's confession. He had other victims. His victims all ranged from the ages, girls and boys, from 2 to maybe 14 years old. I want to say there was about 12 victims. No one ever believed me about my uncle touching me or him unzipping his pants or whatever. One time me and my brother were sitting and she chased him around with a knife to get away from us. So I'm not really sure exactly how far he has gone, but I do know that when he did those things and stuff, and just seeing that face and just knowing that that was my bloodline was just disgusting and horrible. I did not finish school. We moved around a lot. Since I was from southern Jersey, we moved to a different school. When I went to that school, the boy that I liked, he lived down the street from the school, so I would skip school a lot. I would go to his house often. I just turned 16 years old. I found out I was pregnant, and I was about like 4 or 5 months pregnant. My mom forced me to have an abortion. I didn't have no say or anything like that. I did not tell his family. He went to boot camp. When he went to boot camp, I felt a void and I felt wrong and stuff like that. So I made my oldest daughter, and I did that on purpose. I felt empty. I just didn't feel like me anymore. When I had that abortion, I definitely wasn't relieved. I was scared. I was empty. There was just so many different feelings, especially when my own mom, it was my mom, my grandma, my best friend, they all came with me when I went to that clinic. That wasn't my only abortion. So my mom introduced me to having abortions later in life. I had about 11 to 12 abortions throughout my life between 2 men. So she introduced me pretty much to that. Today, I'm anti-abortion. Like, I'm all for it. Like, if it has anything to do with rape or family issues or anything like that. But I used it as a birth control. I seen what it did, and I didn't want to feel as I didn't feel after the first one that has happened. So I just continue to do that. After my first abortion, I did have my oldest as a voidness. After that, I lived with him in his basement. His family took me in. When I was introduced to dancing, we were at this nightclub, and this girl approached me, and she just told me like, hey, and this is not your typical dancing. This was like bachelor party dancing, where we would go to the casinos and hotels, frat parties, and we would take our clothes off. We're there for an hour or 2. We would make so much money. I kind of looked at her and I was like, sure, yeah, let's do it. That is actually the first step into my life that I was introduced to the adultery, like the adult world. When I did that, my first time dancing, we went to the casinos. I followed them around, and they showed thousands and thousands of dollars. So I was really, really in for it. I didn't have an outfit. She offered an outfit. When she offered that outfit, I was shaking. I was trembling. I was scared. I sat on this grown man's lap and just watch them dance. Watch these guys give them 20s. Everybody thought I was still a caterer, and I laughed just because nobody edged in or tried to stop me or tried to find out like what was happening. So I was 17 years old when I was dancing, which was still illegal to do. You had to be 18. I did that for many, many years. I did that until I was probably about 29, 30 years old. So from the dancing, the bachelor parties, actually I went and did porn. So AOL chat rooms, that's how I got introduced to porn, is because these grown men would want me to do modeling. That was just my thing. My goal was always to be a Playboy playmate or something, one of those. I always thought they were beautiful. So I'm on these chat rooms, and on different photographers would say, hey, you know, all this other stuff. It started off with just photos, and it would be into videoing. It would be local hotels that I would go to. I seen one of the girls I went to high school with, and she was doing it as well for some money. She was actually really underage. This girl that was underage, she just told this guy that she didn't want to do it, but she did the whole filming thing. And I just kind of thought to myself, I was like, well, I might as well be underage as well. And he wasn't buying it because I already gave him my ID. I didn't want to do any filming with him anymore, so he kind of blackmailed me. He sent my photos. I don't know if he sent it to my mom's email or my mom's phone number, but he sent my porn pictures to my mom and dad. They were trying to work things out, and she showed him as well. I do recall, like, my mom put it on the side of her refrigerator. She always said I looked so pretty. I always thought that was kind of a little disturbing when she did that. And I did another photo shoot with a different photographer. I ended up in this porn magazine that was local. Local guys just wanted my autograph and stuff, so I kind of felt like a little bit special, but I knew it was just wrong. So from doing that, someone recommended me to do Florida, and I did porn in Fort Lauderdale. When I went to Fort Lauderdale, I met this couple. They were really super nice. The only porn industry that I know that you wore condoms. They just treated me like with respect. They had clicks to another porn industry in LA, so I scheduled myself to do porn in LA. My daughter, she was about 1, 2. I left for a whole week. I did that just because it was around Christmas time when I went to LA, and the only reason why I know that is because I wanted everyone to have a great Christmas, and I just wanted to bring back lots of money. I just wanted my daughter just to have the best in life. Today I have nothing to show for it. I wish I did, but with her, when I did do modeling agencies and stuff like that, I did take her on train rides with me. I did take her on buses with me. She was never really per se like left alone. She didn't see anything, but like for my interviews or me talking or just photography, only time I actually left her with just anybody, and this is probably actually before the porn, when I flew out to the porn. She wasn't walking at the time, so I want to say she was about 6-7 months is when I got introduced to the pimp. Me and my girlfriend, we were looking through the yellow pages, and we seen the escorting, and we just thought, assuming that escorting could mean that you could just go on dates with guys without doing anything sexual. And I met this pimp guy at a local diner, and he was a young black male. He was just telling me like all the hopes and dreams. Pretty much this is like the part of grooming. He brought one of his girls, and she came in a black BMW, came into McDonald's. We met her another time. I brought my daughter. I was kind of sold already. I was like, she looks really good. She's driving this car. Like, yeah. So we went to this house. I did not bring my daughter. There was about 15 girls there. A couple of the girls had his name tattooed on them. A couple of the girls, I remember saying that how he saved their lives and stuff like that. I was definitely drawn into that. I packed up my stuff, and a local girl, and she was in the industry as well, who picked me up, me and my daughter. I thought I was going to the New Jersey house, and I wasn't. I was going to Philadelphia. He picked out my food, picked out what I could wear, who could watch my daughter. I did this for about 4 to 5 days. It was probably the worst time of my life. I just kind of didn't know what I was getting myself into until I was already into it. We ended up at this Philadelphia house. I have my daughter. There's no other girls here. My second day, the girl that I met at McDonald's, she picked me up, and we did like a training thing. So I followed her around. We didn't have our own cell phones. Like, he took my cell phone and I had a different phone. We would go to this factory. It was by the waterfront somewhere. We would wait until someone would call us, and we would have like some guy drop us off at like these hotels or a person's house or wherever it was. That night I got back home, got my daughter. That is the night I realized that I couldn't get out of that room. We had a padlock on that door. Every morning he'd come take it off. There was rumors around, like, from the other girls. I was saying, like, I was going to have sex with him and stuff like that. He said that I was a and I was going to him and I was going to do all this other stuff. The third day I came back, the door was locked. I had my daughter. And this is like the last day I kind of thought, like, how can I convince or conceive this person to get out of this situation? Somehow I told him and made him feel like everything was okay. Hey, tomorrow's the day, like, we'll do it, whatever. He took the padlock off, but I knew I didn't have much time. The only person I turned to was my daughter's father and my own mom. They both came. So basically, I was held against my own will. I was trafficked for 4 days until my daughter's father and my mom came and got me out of there. My mom threatened him. He did try calling that phone, and my mom threatened him that she would shut down the business if he didn't leave us alone. He's never made contact with us ever again. So, like, after that was the porn. There was big porn stars who are there today, or who are big today, I stayed in a room with, and a lot of the directors, they wanted you to have sex with them. Porn isn't really what people really think it is. It's really hard work. It's an almost 5 to 6 hours just per filming. They choose who you're going to do things with. They choose how much you're going to get paid. I pretty much signed myself away to the devil pretty much that moment. I kind of knew I didn't want to do it anymore. When I sat there and watched how, like, they wouldn't be able to pay you. So, like, if you weren't mooning a correct moon, or if you didn't have your eyes open a certain way, or you didn't look like you were enjoying it, they could have cut you right there and you wouldn't get that money. So it was something different, and it was how they controlled it, I guess. And then from the pornography, I got into Playboy TV show. The adultery, and there was more like with the brothel. I was in my early 20s and I was flown out to Nevada to do legal brothels. Again, I just didn't know what I was getting myself into. All I knew was just like fast-paced money. When you go into the brothels, it's completely different. They do a blood testing. There's girls from modeling to TV shows. It was really different. They liked it. The guy that owned it, the girls were just saying, like, you would have to him for free as well, and he would sneak into the girls' rooms. I was only there probably at almost the same time, about like 3-4 days, until I called my grandma and told her to book me a flight to get out. Now, with the legal brothel, they do line you up for each customer that would come into this place. You would line up and you would be in your best attire, like whether it's lingerie or bikini attire, and you couldn't make eye contact with the customers. You just go up to them and you say your name and then walk back into line. And then this guy or couple girl, they would come up and choose that girl and then walk back, and you would take that person back to your room. You charge them however much money you would want to charge them, and the brothel would keep part of that money. All the other stuff, like the pornography and stuff, like I just got the same like vibe, like that's all these guys wanted. They thought they were like the head person, and they could just do whatever they wanted with these girls. The guy that for domestic abuse, I was 20 years old when I met him. I seen so many red flags and I just didn't kind of want to believe it. I stayed with him for almost 9 years. When I went out to do LA porn is when my friend told him about like me, what I was really doing, and I had a transmitted disease and I gave it to him, and that is actually the first time he's ever hit me. When he hit me on the side of my face. He pulled me into the middle of the console. I was bleeding. He just said, "Do you have anything to tell me?" I knew what it was about, but I didn't. I tried playing it off like, how did this guy know? And that is actually when he beat it. I persuade my way out of it. We went to his mom's house, ran upstairs. They told me I could do whatever I wanted. I had marks all over. I didn't. I got a taxi. I went back home. So that was the first time anybody has ever laid hands on me. I was scared. I was frightened. I felt belittled. I just didn't know what else to do, but I did know, like, I love this guy. So I stayed. There was a bunch of incidents. Another incident was when we were driving. He was driving his car. He bought this Chinese sword and he was really excited about it. I was wearing baby blue jeans. He said, "Let's just see how sharp it is." He stabbed me on my upper thigh, but it not like all the way, like just like tip, I guess. And when he did that, I didn't feel anything, but I seen my pants were filling up with blood. Another really dramatic time was also when I found out he was seeing other girls and stuff like that. He would lie to me and say I didn't see things. He would gaslight me. He would make me think like I was crazy. He would take all my money from dancing and stuff like that. Like I would have to hide it in my car. It wasn't the last straw. I would be lying if I told you. I found a girl's pad in my trash can in the bathroom, and I wanted to go home, and he wouldn't let me go home. And I seen him, like, that anger in his eyes again, and I knew what was going to happen, and he punched me. I flew onto the bed, but he didn't knock me out, and he choked hold me until I passed out. His hand was over my mouth and my nose, and he just said, "Shut the f up or you can get me book bit." My daughter, my oldest daughter, she's seen all this, how abusive he was in my life. When I got pregnant, between my oldest daughter's father and this male dancer, we didn't know who's my second child, who she belonged to. For the longest time, I tried doing the math, and I said, okay, it's the male dancers, and I'm just gonna stay. He went behind my back when she was 2 and did a paternity test, and she wasn't his. He called me from work crying, said we'll talk about it and stuff like that. My instincts kind of said, girl, you need to pack and go. He's said things like where he can't have me, nobody could. I just didn't know where I would have been. So I packed me and my girls up. We left all our belongings. We just took our clothes. I never went back to him since. But that was an on and off cycle for 9 years of my life with him. He's the only person in my life that's ever made me feel like I was crazy. He called me all kinds of names every day. He made me feel belittling. He would rape me. He would do all kinds of things. There was a relief when I left. I felt confused, but I knew how he was. Like, he would call you again and just say how he was sorry and stuff like that. It was just like a relief, basically, because I went back to my grandmother's house. So today I am 39 years old. I'm married. I've been with my husband, who I've known since I was 14. My middle child, she is adopted today. From my husband. We moved to southern states. I went through a lot of healing, a lot of finding out about me, what my purpose was, why did all this happen to me. For the longest time, I felt like I was alone, and that all these obstacles that have formed into my life, that it was just me. God just chose me. I wasn't into a big believer of God or anything like that until I moved to the southern states. I feel like God put me through all those obstacles and all those things throughout my life for me to share my story and to become strong and to do things. I always knew like I wanted to write a book, but I wasn't sure if my book was going to be finished. So I finally actually just finished my book. I did it on my own, self-published, and it's called I Am Her, and it's just about like all the events that has happened in my life, and that how God stood by me throughout all my obstacles, but always pulled me back to make sure I was safe. And he let me test everything out, so I knew not to do that again, but he knew like I needed to share my experiences with other people. So that is kind of what gave me like a purpose, and also a healing of somewhat for myself, that I can maybe touch one person and I can give them advice like, yeah, that filming and dancing and that cute boy that, you know, all the girls want isn't worth your life and stuff like that. I had to learn the hard way. I spent and wasted most of my younger ages, and I realized today like a lot of it came from my uncle. A lot of it started because of that, and I didn't realize, because other people had different situations or different outcomes, and later on like our brains kind of block certain things out for us not to remember or protect us. And that's what my brain did from so long, for me to be that girl that lost her virginity at 15 years old, still playing Barbies at 15, and then doing all that adultery. A lot of people are really interested how I jumped and did all that without doing or being involved in the law. And I always say today it's because of God. So like my advice, if I can reach that one person that has been in domestic violence, or that has been trafficked, or that has been sexual abuse, or anything like that. If you know in your gut that it's wrong, or you see those red flags, it's wrong. There's no amount of money in this world that can actually is worth doing. If I had somebody just to help me and told me to stop, that is something I would wish for. I get it. It was about the fast money, and a lot of girls are into the fast money and stuff like that, and that's exactly how it was for me. It's really hard, but if that's something you really want and you want to turn your life around, you really can.